Everybody in the world knows the word God. But there are few people in the world who know God. For most of us, God has remained a word, a term, a power outside the self. God itself has not become a living reality, except to those few people who are known as mystics. The kingdom of God is within us. The whole of the Godhead is to be found within our individual being. Not in holy mountains, nor yet in the temple at Jerusalem, but within us. As humans, we have become separated from our source. Through prayer, you can be reunited with your source. Your prayer will not be an asking or a seeking for anything. It will be an asking and a seeking and a knocking for more light, greater spiritual wisdom, greater discernment. There are some teachings that claim we are completely perfect and spiritual now, and therefore all of this is unnecessary. In our spiritual identity, that's true. But it certainly isn't true of our humanhood. And it is our humanhood, or to our humanhood, that we are trying to bring light, so that we may outgrow this humanhood. Denying that you are a human being and stating that you are already perfect and already spiritual and already have the mind of God is merely a form of affirmation. Many students say they are discouraged because they don't feel spiritual. My answer has always been, and you never will. If you meet people who say they feel spiritual, don't believe them. They're lying to you. There is no such thing as feeling spiritual, any more than there is such a thing as feeling moral. Don't try to feel anything. Be it. Be willing to be used by God. Be willing to be used by truth. Be willing to be an instrument through which truth reveals itself. But do not attempt to use God. Never try to use God, to use truth. If you understood the nature of God, never would you pray to God for anything. The very moment that any form becomes a necessity in our experience, we are placing our dependence, our happiness, and our joy in that, instead of in the infinite invisible, which is the cause of the form. Listening is the art of meditation, in the learning of which we come to a place of transition, where truth leaves the mind and enters the heart. In other words, there is no longer merely an intellectual knowledge about truth, but truth becomes a living thing within our being. God must become an activity in our consciousness. Do not try to be omniscient yourself in your praying, because you can be omniscient only when you are completely absent from the personal sense of self. When you are absent from any knowledge, when you have attained that place of unknowing in which you definitely know that you do not know and do not even want to know, but are willing and open to receive spiritual wisdom, spiritual guidance, spiritual strength. The mind will be still if there's no warfare. But there's always warfare if you have two powers. If you have good and evil, if you have desires, if you struggle to attain or achieve something. Our mind is restless only when we are thinking about things or persons, either in terms of good or evil. But the mind is at rest when we surrender all such concepts. How do you stop thinking? I have found one way. The minute I can look at any person or condition and know that it is neither good nor evil, my thought stops and my mind becomes quiet. That is the end of it, because then there are no thoughts left for me to think about. I do not think good of it, and I do not think evil of it. All I know is that it is. And then I am back at the center of my being, where all power is. Whatever you release, you are released from. What you cling to is that which binds you. You are your own liberator.